Why working hard and saving money won't make you rich anymore? You see, you hear from your parents' advice, right? Study hard in school, get some good grades, make sure you go to a good university, get your degree, get into a good employment, a good company, rise through the ranks, get your promotion, get your pay bump, and hopefully you can retire by the statutory retirement age. And at the same time, save money for your first housing, get a BTO, make sure after 5 years you flip the property game, and also save some money for your CPF with some CPF top-ups if you can. Now you look around, all these people around you, aren't they also doing the same thing? They study hard, they got some pretty good, decent grades, and they got some pretty decent job as well, get some good pay. But you see, many of us in this phase are still struggling. People who have studied hard for good schools and good jobs, good careers, they're still struggling in life and they are doing okay, but they are definitely not rich. So did you realize something? In the past, your parents' advice may have worked for their era, for their generation, and for their lifetime, but it may not be so applicable to us now, the new generation of millennials and Gen Zs, because everybody is doing the same thing. And when everyone is doing the same thing, we all get similar results. No one is going to be outstanding, and everyone is just running the same race and chasing for the same gains. So today, the rules have already changed. And if you're still using the same old rules to play the game, I think you will not really excel and retire early or anything related to money that you want to have. But it's okay. Today I'll share some of my perspectives, which will also be quite unorthodox, right? I try to share some things that schools don't teach you, because I'm very sure that you have heard all this advice very long time ago, but not many would have executed it. So let's go to the first one, which is you can't work your way to wealth. You really need to own assets that can help you generate income. You see, the old thing about working hard in your job, getting that promotion, getting your boss approval, and rising up to manager or director or even C-suites, that advice has been a little outdated, because you have to realize that your salary has a ceiling, right? Everyone only has 24 hours and there's only limited spaces on top of the corporate ranking, right? There is only 1 or 2 managers and then 1 director. And this time around with AI, companies are even cutting all these senior level and even mid-level positions because they are more streamlined. They need to cut costs and realize that middle managers may not even be cost effective. So having a high income definitely helps. But ultimately, salary is still trading time for money. So if one day the company does not need you anymore, or your position has been moved to another country, or even moved to AI, there goes your high income and high salary position. So how do we protect ourselves in this kind of dangerous situations? You have to realize that the wealthy people all own assets, whether in property, whether in stocks, whether in other kind of investments. They don't really work for an income, right? They don't really depend on something like high income, high salary, because there are definitely still high income people who lives paycheck to paycheck because of whatever they spend on, and they have huge liabilities like a huge property and expensive cars to fund their high living lifestyle. Now, one thing to know is that property used to be one of the golden assets for the old generation, because they have propelled together with Singapore's economy. As Singapore's economy becomes stronger, property prices become stronger and higher as well. So that applies to the olden day economies. But is it still applicable to us youngsters today? Because there are so many people who own houses in the previous generation, and this pushes up the housing prices as demands get higher and supply gets lower. So ultimately, there is still limited land in Singapore, and if the older generation pass down their property to the new descendants, then you have to realize that this whole property game is only limited to all the people who have set very good foresights and bought sufficient properties for their next generation. So how does the new age investor make money if not through property? Now, one thing very fair is that equities or stock market is still very available to everyone, right? You don't have to be like super rich or have a high income, but you can start investing today, even with all these low-cost brokerages. So even if you cannot own a property, which is an asset, you can own stocks, you can own equities, you can own unit trust investments, you can own bonds, all these things, financial assets, or even own businesses that can all make you money. So don't be a consumer, be an owner. be an asset holder. And speaking of investments, this video is not sponsored, so if you want to support this channel, you can click on this interactive broadcasting or scan the IBKR code right here. Okay, it will pay a small commission for every click I receive. Thank you to all those who have clicked. Now back to this thing about owning businesses. A lot of people think that businesses need a lot of capital, but the truth is that with AI now, you can even make one-man businesses because you can write codes, you can use AI automation to do a lot of heavy lifting for you. So the barrier to owning scalable assets has been lower than ever. This is not an excuse anymore, especially we have so many tools to help us now. So with that, let's move on to the next point in the next destination. Let's go. Now let's talk about the second point, and that is the thing on network being your net worth, because we all heard about this saying, right? Your network is your net worth. And similarly, you may have heard of this saying, it's not what you know, but who you know. That is what we all say in networking. But I can just tell you that the new age of networking is really different. It's not about attending events, having coffee, meeting someone outside of your work and then go and talk about new opportunities, because that is the old generation style of networking. You think about it, you spend a lot of time one-to-one to talk to people, and you're still trading time for opportunity for new money. And it is very time consuming because your time is still limited by the same 24 hours. So the old way of doing networking is gone, right? We cannot use the old way of doing networking. So what is the new way of networking? Now I can use myself as an example because I used to be a corporate accountant. And despite me having many networking opportunities from my work, I don't really see those quite meaningful or useful. But the real networking came after I started YouTube and talked about personal finance, investing on this platform, because that is where more people came to reach out to me on similar goals, similar strategies, and similar objectives. Like I meet all these creators from events like client meals and even client events that bond us together across multiple creators, and I get to meet my audience, my viewers from outside who I may not really have known if I just stayed on in my old corporate role. So the new age of networking is to start creating, right? Start creating content, start writing on LinkedIn so that you can attract similar like-minded people that are attracted to your personal branding. Now you think about it, this is much more efficient and effective, correct? Because now you don't have to do one-to-one anymore. You can do one-to-many. And in fact, for those of you who engage on social media, you will feel this kind of personal relationship to the creator, which is what I want to build for my own community, right? Close to 23,000 members in the Telegram group, which is why those who have joined, they have been in this community for years, and we all help out each other in what ways we can. Now you realize that the more knowledge that you can share across communities, across platforms, the better you will learn, because you're not just learning in silo. You're learning across different people, different mindsets from different backgrounds, and even different geographies, right? I could say that I learned so much more through my work on YouTube compared to what I have learned in my previous accounting job. And this has brought me so many more new opportunities, meeting more people, more business owners, more entrepreneurs, more self-employed people that I could have never met outside of my original work. And the good thing is that it takes much less effort because you realize you don't have to do your self-intro anymore. More like people already know you. So like, it's more about who knows you rather than who you know. And when the time comes for the opportunity to strike, whether it presents a new brand deal, a new collaboration, or a new job offer, then make sure you take it, because this is when your networking becomes automatic and it helps you in a certain way that you would never have imagined. So when we talk about investing, we always talk about dividends, we talk about capital gains, but what about investing in ourselves? This is where investing in a network, by creating content like writing articles, making videos, or just making Instagram posts to attract similar-minded individuals would help you in terms of the new age of networking plus the AI empowerment. Now, let me remind you that creating content online doesn't mean you automatically become an influencer or a content creator, because that's like a totally new, different job. It's just that you're trying to build an online community or you're trying to join a similar online community. So don't think too much, okay? Just start writing, just start creating, just start posting. And who knows, the new networking opportunity might knock on your door and you can join their close circle. And that presents you with new ways to make money outside of traditional work, which is why people who are just consuming content, they may not get all these opportunities because they choose to be a consumer rather than a creator or owner. And with that, let's move on to our next destination. Let's move on to the third point of why working hard and saving money won't reach you anymore today. And the main reason is because if you want to save your money in a safe asset, it ultimately becomes riskier than not taking any risk at all. I know it sounds really ironic, but let me explain. Now, we all have a very safe asset known as CPF, and even the ordinary account is paying you 2.5% per annum. But we all realize that inflation is hitting us harder and harder. And recently, with the oil price spike, this is going to cause an inflationary pressure across all sectors and industries. That is definitely more than 2.5% per annum. So your property and living cost is definitely going to go higher and higher. And for people who keep their cash and savings in a bank, not doing anything, not investing, you'll find that the purchasing power is going to go down year by year. So I don't think I need to dwell too much onto inflation because most people already understand. But I want to talk about debts and loan because I understand that Singaporeans, we are very averse to debt because we always hear from our parents, okay? If you have any outstanding loan, you are doing very bad financially. If you have any loans, please clear it, including good debts. Now, like I always said, debt is a double-edged sword. So if you can leverage it and use it to good use, you can actually maximize your gains if you have a controlled risk appetite. But for people who cannot control their debts and they don't even understand it, then they will spiral it to very bad situations. But for those people who are financially literate, financially sound, making use of good debt is actually a very good way to maximize your wealth. And you realize that even the rich and wealthy people also use debt in one way or another. It's really just the middle class people who really avoid debt altogether and say that it's a very bad thing for everyone. By the way, this is according to the top 20% net wealth video that I did earlier. And really, rich people, they also do not shun away from debt. But let me stress again that debt is not for everyone. So it's only for those who can control and manage it. Now let's talk about another aspect which seems safe but is actually risky. And that is staying to your one single job in your one single company. Because I know that it feels really safe, really secure. You just do your work, you just try to get promoted, and you stay in this position, this company, forever until you retire. But that is last generation thinking already. Nowadays, people are not shy to job hop, and because they know their worth and they know how to prove their worth to the next employer. And retrenchment risk and restructuring risk always exist, whether AI exists or not, because we are not just competing on the local level, we are competing on an international level. And in fact, now we even have to compete with AI not taking away our jobs. So you think about it, how many people can really stay in the same job in today's society compared to the past few 20 or 30 years? So if you stay put and do nothing, you think you are safe and you are secured, then I can tell you that it will seem really safe in the short term, but in the long term, ultimately someone or something is going to replace you. Again, I'm not telling you this to scare you or sell anxiety to you, but I want you to recognize that it is a fact. If you keep following the old playbook, like staying safe and keeping to yourself, not invested in the markets or owning assets, ultimately you will be left behind, just like a fossil. So now you will realize that the truth is not about working hard, but working hard in the right direction. Because what has worked in the past may not work in the future. You see, the old formula of study hard, get some good grades, get a stable job, work hard for your promotion, get a property, save your cash in the bank, may not work anymore. Those steps were all built for a different time and they are very stable and safe in the past period for the past generation. But it may not be so for the current society and the future. So stability itself has changed. And if you want to be safe, you want to be stable, you want to stay in your comfort zone, there's no issue with it. But you have to acknowledge that this comes at an opportunity cost. And if you're not willing to take risks, sooner or later, you will get left behind by the society. So it's better to be a creator and an owner of assets, whether you are in stocks, REITs, ETFs, businesses, or property, things that can make you money when you sleep. Because if you don't make money while you sleep, you'll work till your end of your life. And the era of being a property landlord and renting out your property for rental income is not so advantageous to us youngsters and young people anymore. It's the old money generation thing already. And I'm not even asking you to start a business, be a big business owner, because that comes with a different set of risks as well. But what you could do is to be an AI-empowered individual. And that means you use AI to help you learn high-value skills and deliver high-value work so that you don't have to be enslaved to your current company and as a full-time employee just depending on the stable paycheck that comes every month. And if you really don't know what to do or how to earn money, really now AI is the best tool. Just go and ask questions, right? And go and refine your prompts, your responses, and then see how it can help you build a better future for yourself or even an early retirement. And very importantly, do not blame the game and do not blame the past generation creating new problems for you, because every generation has their own set of problems. But you know what the past generation do not have? They do not have AI or assistants to help them. And now we live in this social media creator and AI economy. So there's no more excuses to say that you don't know everything, because you can ask. Most importantly is to have the intention to start, because if you don't even have the intention to break out of your comfort zone, I think that it's very difficult to make it in this new economy. So the best time to plant a tree is always 20 years ago, and the second best time is today. So what do you think? Do you still want to work hard and save money, or you want to venture out to something better? That's the question for yourself. And if you also want to hear my past perspective on a peace of mind, then you can refer to my previous video right here.